It wouldn't be a Burandt podcast if I didn't hit one of these stupid buttons and make. We need to mix it up.
What was that?
It was our intro.
Oh, laugh track.
Yeah.
Okay. We're set.
All right. Oh, here we go. All
We
right.
got the phone going already. Shane, get it.
Phone's going. Shane's. Let's see.
Rebuilding.
It's 7:15 in the morning. January. What day? January 5th, our first day of guiding. Welcome, everybody. Chris Burandt here. You know that because you actually signed on to watch this. I got Blaine and Ryan to my left and right here. And we decided that we're going to keep this podcast train rolling and give you guys another one. It's been fun. Blaine's sat in a few times with me for this season. We've had Kyle in on the last one. Ryan, welcome back to Colorado.
Yes, it's good to be back. It's been a long time since I've been in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Awesome. Well, we're going to get rolling, guys. We've got a fun topic today. Ryan actually texted me this. I think you literally probably just think about snowmobiling all the time, it seems like.
It's I can't recall the last time
I'm like laying in bed. I get this text. He's like, all right, I got an idea for our next podcast. All right, sweet.
As I was packing my gear ready to come riding.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, obviously, guys, we have a lot of fun sharing our views and opinions about this incredible sport that we all love. And today's topic is going to be a really fun one, and I think one that a lot of you can relate to, and we'll see which bucket you drop into. And so, Ryan, why don't you go ahead and read your text?
Yeah, that's a good way to start this, isn't it?
Yep.
Let me pull that up here. All right. So as I'm scrambling around packing all my stuff, 200-pound bags to come ride, I was thinking a lot about kind of where we're at today in the world of snowmobiling. And so basically, here's what I sent to Chris. My thinking is an interview of you. I would interview you, as I'm doing now, as I personally, along with many others out there, as I'm sure you all are wondering, really want to hear from you, Chris. What is your definition of technical riding? What are the absolute essential skills needed? What's your take of the riding style from the majority of people today and the trends you're seeing? And lastly, where do you think it will go from here?
And where's it going? Well, so I thought this would be an awesome topic. And Blaine, you again, just some quick history for the listeners and viewers. You've been a guide forever. Now you're a guide at BBA, so you've seen all sorts of different riders, riding styles, and everything. So I was like, well, Blaine needs to be in on this one as well.
Yeah, I mean, it started with more of the trail riders, trail riding. We got off trail a little bit here and there, and this is, BBA is a totally different level. We do the 3-day clinic style, and we teach people how to ride instead of help them get unstuck.
Yeah, or like we used to say, can you hang?
Hang.
Go get you stuck and then yell at you and then try not to do it again. Okay, so let's start with question one. Basically, my definition of treed. What's my definition of treed riding?
Yeah, technical treed riding.
Technical treed riding. Okay. So, and I think that's what's fun. And so, just talking with the viewers, asking you, okay, what is your definition of treed technical riding? Your answer may be different than mine. And my answer has changed throughout the history of me riding as well. If you would have asked me at 15, what's my definition of treed technical riding? It's like,
above the trees.
Yeah. All we were thinking about back then is high marking and,
true.
doing the big rainbow on the hill. And
that's where I was.
Because
mountain bars.
Yeah, mountain bars. I mean, there was no getting on edge, side hilling through trees. So that's what's so fun about this topic is it is really endless. And so, let's look at it's funny, my son is obsessed with the old Slednex videos, schooled videos, and all of that. So literally, that's what's playing in my house every single time I walk in.
Yep.
Nothing about the new stuff. He could give a crap about hopovers, freaking twirly whirls.
Twirly girly whirls.
Yeah, all of that. He does not care. He loves the old stuff. And it's funny. So, as I'm strolling through the house and, I'm listening and I was looking at my Slednex 10 segment. I'm on an M8 or M1000 or something, and it looks like it's such a struggle to ride. And I'm wrong foot forward, I'm side hilling, but the steepness wasn't really there from we were still going up quite a bit of technical stuff, but I think the difference that I see right now is, so going back to the question, what's my definition of treed riding? Like for me right now, I thoroughly enjoy looking at a hill that looks impossible to get up because either A, it's too steep, B, there's too many trees, and I guess that the combination of that too.
All the obstacles in front of you, right?
Yeah. And I think, that is what, and the reason that I'm able to look at that now is because the sleds have, so rewind to what I was just talking about on the M, right? Like the tree spacing had to be a little bit better. The hill probably not as steep, all of those things. Well, now it's so much easier on a new snowmobile that stuff that was hard on an M sled is not hard anymore. And so the evolution of the snowmobile has really dictated what my definition of technical treed riding is. And so for me, again, the steeper, the more challenging, and I don't I've ridden tight trees. I've been to Quebec, okay? When you go to Quebec and you ride their tight trees, it's like too tight and annoying tight, and you can't get a rhythm, and you're bouncing off of crap and running over stuff. And so when I say tight trees, I want my snowmobile to fit through it. But also, I really do enjoy, we talk about this all the time, right? Like our tree spacing is, I think it's kind of tight. But you go to McCall or a Sealy or a Tahoe or somewhere like there, and it's like my speed times 2, because I feel like I can stay neutral more. I don't have to go wrong foot forward, and I can just haul butt because the spacing is even more. Blaine, okay, so here's my definition, right? My definition is Mount Everest steep with a bunch of dang trees on it. Trees, yeah. And but again, with the ultimate goal of getting to the top. To the top. And that is something, Ryan, we were just talking about it. I think that's something that's gotten a little lost in what you see on Instagram and all this stuff is, the GoPro clips are getting fewer and fewer. There's still definitely guys who love doing the tree lines and getting the top. All of us just got done getting super jealous of watching, Keith Curtis and Kosterky and all those guys up in Revelstoke, where it's like, oh man. Now talk about if you talk about the definition of perfect steep technical terrain,
steep, pillowy, trees, open.
Wow. Yeah, that looks fun. I still got to get up to Revy, but Blaine, you've been there, so So I'm gonna Ryan, pose the question to him.
Your definition of technical tree riding.
There it is.
Well, it's changed over time. You'd think technical tree riding back in the day is you're going straight up the hill and more really open chutes, and then you come back down and you try not to hit the trees. It's pretty technical coming back down.
Just getting back down.
And with the evolution of snowmobiles, you could go straight up, but when you start side hilling and getting into that steep trees and being able to get on edge and hold that edge, that's where the evolution has changed. And you don't see these type of riding on social media as much anymore because it's for one, it's harder to film.
That's a good point.
It went from Thunderstruck to filming shoots, people going straight up shoots, to people just doing wheelies in meadows.
Yeah.
So there wasn't as much in between with the bow ties and the hopovers, and that's kind of the cool stuff to see. I don't know if it's cool anymore, but it is fun to do.
It is, and I thought it's interesting you make that comment because I was scrolling through some throwback clips, and I saw one from 2019. I was on Spoolio, a 155 Chaos, bunch of boost, really fun sled. That was a year that I told myself I want to learn how to do these, basically re-entries like in a space of this table. And you know, I was on the side of this road, remember? And I had the group there, and they all got their phones out, and I'm like, I'm gonna
death is below.
Yeah, exactly. You guys all remember it. And you know, like I'm like, well, shoot, that was 4 years ago, and you know, we're all still kind of doing that, you know. So that'll set us up for your last question, right? Where it's going. So one other thing that I want to touch on before we move to the question 2 is what is pretty awesome about, like, okay, that's our definition of technical tree riding, right? Well, okay, we like something steep, we like something with trees, and we want to get to the top, and you know, north facing stuff always has the good snow, blah blah blah. So that's pretty standard for us. But I think what intrigues me the most about how the sleds keep advancing, how our riding keeps advancing, all of that is that we talk about this to our people that we take out as well, is being comfortable, being uncomfortable.
Exactly.
And you have to get uncomfortable to understand where the limits are.
Yep.
And that is what is getting us into this more technical terrain or steeper terrain, is that, like, I'm kind of 50-50 what's going to happen here. But I talk about this in a lot of previous podcasts as well, is whether I make the line or fail on the line, I learn from it. But if I don't push myself, then I will never progress. And that is the biggest thing that we try to show people here at BBA, right? Is like, we have all these people that have this idea of what technical tree riding is, or what snowmobiling is. And one of the things that we used to do, and kind of how I got my name, was way back in the day, like taking people out and showing them what is possible on a snowmobile. Well, I look at what I was doing back then, I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool, but it's nothing compared to what we're doing now, right? As far as from a technical side of things. So that's, you know, I love that fact, and I love that is why snowmobiling will never get boring for me, because I'm always going to try to make a sled lighter and skinnier and get up to a gnarlier place to get me uncomfortable so I can be comfortable next time I get in there.
And what's funny for me is watching you for many, many, many years and being a client and a fan before I started working for you, is oftentimes when I look back, which I do quite a bit at your older stuff, sometimes it looks gnarlier. But I think that's because of your point earlier. It was harder. It was harder. It was more difficult, a little bit more awkward. The sleds weren't as good. And today, it just, I mean, frankly, I think most would say this, you make it look too easy. And so sometimes that it loses a little bit of the luster. Like, it's just like, well, quit speeding up your GoPros. I mean, you truly are going ludicrous speed.
Yeah,
exactly. And so when you talk about technical tree riding, and when I think of you, I think of how you've progressed from kind of more dangling off the sled and the wrong foot forward and kind of the wild style, which really got my attention, to now so much of smoothness and speed and neutral. Yeah. And so I think for me, this kind of transitions us to the next a bit of where we're going with technical riding. But just my perspective and watching so much of it from not just working for you, but watching you as a fan.
Well, watching those old videos and seeing how much English you had to put into the snowmobile, so the body movements were so exaggerated, right? Like, literally. Well, when Blake and I went out the other day, and he's like, all right, go do a powder turn on that 98 right at camera. And I'm like, dude, I'm going to be dragging my nutsack right on this snow coming right at you.
First thing I noticed. Like, what is he doing?
But yeah, and like the last point Ryan made there is, like, you ride neutral, and you ride neutral so much more on these new sleds than you did on, say, an old Pro. And watching some of those old videos with you and Ross and San, like, those movements are very exaggerated, because that's what you had to do to be able to hold that edge or get that line, where now you can almost do that neutral on a matrix.
Yep. Cool. So that kind of covers our definition. What's number 2?
2 is, what are the absolute essential skills needed?
Yeah. So this is what we've made our job and our passion over the last, I said 18 years. I don't know how many years. It's a lot of years. Since 2008. Okay, since 2008, Burandt's Backcountry Adventure, that's been our goal, is to show people or help them figure out what are the key essential things you need to ride this type of technical terrain,
and change their perception on the riding and the terrain they're looking at, right?
Yeah,
so they have the confidence to go where they didn't think they could go.
Well, and that's what's so this is 2024 here to the start. This season has been a slow start snow-wise for everybody. This is day one for us guiding, and we have pretty low snow, but this takes us back 5 years ago where we had a season that started off like identical to this, and all of us were so worried, like, oh my God, where are we going to go? Where are we going to take these people? All of our normal spots, like there's not enough snow. We have snow in like the packed open stuff, and it's like, what are we going to do? And we kind of all just made the plan. I'm like, well, let's just go up to the bowl and like let's work on side hilling, I guess. Like let's kind of show these people how to do it right
and stay on edge.
Yeah.
Instead of follow along and hopefully you survive.
Yeah.
And that's where it changed. That's where everything changed for us.
Yep. So we're going to be doing that exact same thing today. We have basically 3 drills that encompass like pretty much all the essentials you need to go ride treed technical terrain, in my opinion. And so we'll rattle those off real quick. First and foremost, you have to be able to ride wrong foot forward. You have to be able to park on edge with the front of your sled downhill to be able to give you 3 options when you're parked on that edge. You have to be able to transition from downhill to uphill. That's our drill number 2. Mm-hmm. And then you have to be able to change direction on the snowmobile, going from left to right on the hill. We start out in the open, we start out in the open so you don't like wreck your snowmobile all the time, but it's all geared towards getting into that more technical tree terrain and changing direction on the hill. So we do this for a living, right? We teach you guys how to do that. In my opinion, the biggest thing obviously is using finesse. You talk about this, Ryan, like, I make it look easy. Well, and I tell all the people who are struggling on day one, you are using so much more effort than you need to. And generally it's because why, Blaine?
Because they don't have the eyes up.
Eyes up.
And they're using momentum.
They're using speed. Speed. And we talk about that a lot, right? Is momentum can be very vastly different.
Yep. I guess momentum and speed are totally 2 different things.
Yes. A lot of the time people are using speed to carry them across the hill in a side hill, which is terrifying to watch. Where
makes for good videos.
It makes for good video. But we try to, and this is what we always talk about, is at any moment you should be able to stop on edge, nose low, in control. And we always say, let go of your snowmobile. Why do you let go of your snowmobile on edge? Because if you can let go of your snowmobile and your snowmobile is staying on edge, it means that you have the angle of the snowmobile working for you onto the hill, versus if you let go and your snowmobile falls over and starts rolling down the hill, it means you're using way too much effort and you're literally holding the snowmobile up instead of using the weight of the snowmobile to hold itself into the hill.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And what we talk about so much in relation to all that is utilizing the sled and the power of the sled versus your arms and your legs and your back and all that, because you'll be exhausted day one at lunch and ready to go home. And that's the last thing we want. And so it's the first thing we drill into you over and over as we're doing the drills, is utilize the power of that sled.
Well, and I think that's why our program has gained so much success over the last 5 or 6 years, is because like what we're talking about here, literally we could do a whole podcast on this exact question. What are the essentials to be successful at technical riding? Well, it's like there's 15 things. You know, it's eyes up, it's finger on the brake, it's throttle control, it's foot placement, it's body placement, it's shoulders square, it's eyes up, it's moving that foot when and knowing why and where. I mean, it is so many things, right? And we see this all the time. And I love this statement is, yes, you made it from point A to point B, but did you do it correctly? And that's what's so easy for us, being that we've done this forever, is like as they're going across the hill, we're literally like kind of snickering and shaking our head. Whoa, 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 stop. And when they stop, they lose edge, roll down the hill, right? Okay, that's
Helmets
mistake.
off, they can't breathe.
Mistake one, right? Like so, and then it's so cool to be like, hey, see where your foot is right there? Your foot is parallel with the running board instead of at an angle. When your foot's at an angle, you can open up your hips, which pulls the sled farther into the hill, and then you can let go of the sled. Like, it's all these quick little things that we can fix for a guy who's ridden 20 years and thought he could get shit done. And it's like, dude, you're like totally doing this the wrong way. And yes, you're like big and strong and you're kind of doing it, but we're going to take 10 steps back and we're going to like make you a rider. And it's pretty damn awesome.
It is awesome. And then it's awesome too when people are, not that they're doing things wrong completely, but maybe there's just a little tweak and a little bit thing of something more we can refine, because until it's perfect, like there's still more we can work on and still get there, like get good riders to be even better.
Yeah. And and we have tons of examples of that, but I'll give you one example, right? So when we do our circle drill is where we go down neutral, we switch to wrong foot forward, we get on edge, we come back up the hill, and then we go back to neutral. So one of the mistakes we see a lot is guys don't move their foot, right? So when you're going downhill, obviously your foot on the running board is all the way forward. And then when you want to transition that sled to go from downhill to uphill, you unweight the front of the sled by putting your foot that's on the running board further back. And we get guys who either A, completely don't even do it and can't even make the turn, or they only move their foot back just a little bit, and then it really makes it tough to move the sled back, right?
And they start looping.
Right? Yeah. So again, it's all of these little things that when you fix it and we spend a tremendous amount of time and lots of repetitions to get it in their head. So what the goal of our day one and why we do so many repetitions, no matter how many times you've been out here, is that in the pressure situation, when we're going to go into the real fun riding on day 2 and day 3, you should never have to think of, is my foot in the right spot? We want it to be automatic. And we want you to know and feel what happens when you make those changes, right?
Yeah, and that's what we talk about so much when we're out on the hill. After that day one, towards the end, we start saying, okay, what did you do wrong, right? And putting it on the client to tell us, and that's a big part of the learning aspect as well.
Yeah.
To your point, recognizing what you've done wrong.
Yeah.
And I do that myself when I screw up on something. I'm like, all right, what did I do? And then learn from it, right? If we don't, then what are we doing?
Yeah. As I'm getting stuck, I'm already yelling to myself what I did wrong. Like, you idiot. You know better than that. Yeah.
So I guess one thing I wanted to throw out there to both of you, if you could pick the most essential, Shane,
we're doing a podcast over here, bro. Put the drill down.
The most is like, if you could pick the most important skill, like one thing. I know that's very difficult. There's a lot of things that make up the importance of riding technically and doing it all right. But if there's one thing to pick, what would it be for you, Chris?
Can mine be a bundle?
Well, that's
can we
just
bundle
it.
like State Farm?
I wanted to. Let's go with like picking one and then go with your bundle.
Okay.
Because I know it's very difficult to answer, and it's probably not a correct answer just to say one. But I have an idea of if I had to just pick one. Well,
it can't, like for me, I can't just pick one, but I will say the most important thing, or the thing that people struggle with the most, is having eyes up. Okay. And so for me, the body can only do what the mind is telling it to do. Yep. So when you're looking down, all of your actions are for what you're looking at just straight in front of your ski. Exactly. And it's so painful to watch.
You're exactly
it's
right.
Like, whoa, up here, dude, up here. And what's crazy is as soon as they look up, their shoulders go up, they counter steer, they're like,
oh, hello.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of like, and our first drill is coming up straight, turning, getting on edge. When their eyes are down, literally all they do is just go in a circle and go back, and we're waving. Try that again, and you need to look that way this time. So for me, it's eyes up.
Exactly.
Well, I'm going to kind of take a cheating route in here and say body positioning.
Yeah.
All right.
Because, body position on the sled, like that body position could be eyes up or weight over the front of the sled or, feet back. Just positioning on the sled and your weight on the sled, because that is all the input of where that sled goes, because the sled goes where you tell it to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what's yours, for me, it really is the eyes up thing. I struggled with it for a long time, along with some other things like throttle aggressiveness and whatnot. But one key statement that I often hear us all make is if your eyes aren't up, you can be doing everything really close to right, but it's probably not going to work, right? And we kind of joke sometimes, and I will with clients, your eyes are down, your head's down all the time. Did you drive here in your truck staring at the hood? Imagine that. It's strange how much we stare down, and when all of us get tired, we'll find our head falling down, and what happens? We screw up over and over.
It's the number one thing that when I'm tired at the end of the day and we're trying to do our one more, it's all I'm yelling at myself the entire line is keep looking up, looking up, because I have the fundamentals. I know what I need to do, and I will be successful. All I have to do is one thing, is look ahead and anticipate what's coming ahead of me instead of reacting to what's in front of me.
And you'll find even when you screw up and your eyes are up, because your eyes were up, you had plan B, C, D, E, whatever, that you were able to at least, maybe you got stuck, but at least you're not as bad, right?
And I think it's interesting, early season, like what we're doing now, early season at 4 o'clock at the end of the day, holy cow, you find yourself like just a wet noodle, like, oh my God, I'm riding like an idiot right now.
I got a good meme for that tonight.
All right, let's
Number three.
What's
your take of the riding style from the majority of people you're seeing today and the trends that you're seeing?
Cool. This is another pretty awesome part about our job is, we get 10 to 12 new people every 4 days to basically look and see, okay, this is how do these people ride? What are their goals? And I think it's interesting, right? We ask, Ryan, you literally interview just about every single person that comes to BBA, and one of the questions is, what are you hoping to get out of this? And I think it's interesting, back in the day, there would be one or two, I just want to learn that damn hop over, right? And now it's like, I want to learn. There's a lot of people that ask to learn a hop over or re-entry. And, I think this is what's interesting. 5 years ago, we kind of laughed at that. Yeah, because it was like, dude, hold on. Let's learn how to side hill first, and then we'll work on like doing hop overs. But now, again, people are advancing as riders. And now, and I've talked about this before, and if you watch any top rider who has, a reentry or hop over in their bag of tricks, it used to be, we're just going to go do this to like be flashy. And in open, we're going to show you how cool it is to be able to do that. Well, now 100% is those moves are on purpose to get to the top of the hill, right? To like change direction on the hill, to not get stuck, they actually have a use instead of it just being just a flashing move.
Well, yeah, it could be your plan B or your plan C. You're like, hey, I want to go to the top of this hill. Well, you didn't carry enough momentum. Well, that's where your reentry comes in. And then you wanted to make that turn and go back up. And you're like, oh no, there's trees or down tree. That's your hop over or your hop under. Yeah. And you can go back the opposite direction and get your speed again, find another line.
Well, and that's what's really fun for me is, I'll be watching, one of our, a guy who's been here a long time, and he goes and he's doing it and he's doing a line and it's kind of getting tight, and he goes and the sled starts kind of wheeling up, and he literally goes and does a re-entry, and the sled almost comes up on top of him. At the last second, he kind of looks, the sled falls down, and he's like, I did it. I'm like, okay. You kind of did it, but next time, do it on purpose. Do it planning to do it. Because what happens when you plan to do it, guess what? You're not nose down, stuffed in, claiming that you did it. You're continuing your line.
And I find myself in that situation a lot as I'm trying to get to that next phase in my riding style, right? It often is more a mistake than it is on purpose, even though I know what I'm doing is just happening way too last minute.
Way too last minute.
And I'm not in the greatest position afterwards.
Yeah,
or,
exactly.
Or it's on me.
Or it's on top of you.
The mousetrap has been the death of me.
Yeah. So, okay, so kind of going back to the question, what are the trends and what we see? We're getting more and more riders, which is awesome, that show up, they understand and know what wrong foot forward is. They can kind of park on the hill. Most of the time they park nose high or nose even. Being able to show them the effectiveness and the why of why we park nose low, I think that changes the game instantly for a lot of people. So I think there's that. But then, to be honest, the majority of people we get are what we call the average mountain rider that like to ride average terrain, which, they kind of ride neutral all the time. If you go to take them into the trees, they end up being a mess because they aren't looking ahead. They're not understanding or able to transition their body from the one side of the sled to the other. So, that's really, in my opinion, what we see the most is we see the average mountain rider that rides in average terrain, and which is great because what we really enjoy doing is showing them how to become more than just average.
Let me ask you this question. Do you feel like some of what we're seeing in the riding styles of today and kind of the flashiness on Instagrams and in the social media side of things, do you think that's inhibiting a little bit some of the actual pure technical riding skills of people because they so badly want to do the hop over, the bow tie and all that?
There is definitely a movement that is buying 146 9Rs and 155 Chaoses and just want to go and do that type of stuff. And that's fine. And it's okay. Is it inhibiting people from going to that next level? Kind of is.
I'm guilty of that. I was there. I did that. But, now back to the technical riding, what's your idea of it? My idea of it now is, I used to be doing those hopovers and wheelie turnarounds and all this stuff on a hillside where there's no consequence below. Now, my idea of it is in those tight trees when you have to make that hop over, and if you don't make that hop over, your sled's going into a tree. Or if you don't ride that sled out, it could be the end of the season for that snowmobile. Like, that is my idea of fun, tight, technical terrain, because that gets me going. Like, that's scary to me.
I second that 100%. I love, I think one of the coolest things is name whatever, you've got your clients sitting here and Blake, get the camera out, right? I'm going to go do something right here. And cause in my mind, all I have to do is do a hop over and or a reentry that I've done literally thousands of times. I just have to do it right there. And I come back and, the guys are like, holy dude, what if you would have fallen down right there? And I'm like, oh yeah, that would have been bad, huh? I didn't even look at that. I love that challenge. And I think as my message to these people who are wanting to love doing the Kasturkey moves and all this stuff, I think is awesome. It's a great tool in the toolbox for sure. But to Blaine's point, the next level of that is going to go do it in terrain that has consequences. So it forces you to do it correctly. And and so I think that's part of it as well.
Yeah. My riding style changed coming out here and riding with you guys, because I was that guy and I still enjoyed riding in the meadows and doing those hopovers and playing on that stuff to get warmed up and then go into that gnarly stuff. And my even sled setup has changed a lot in the last few years, going to 165, and I always thought man, you don't need a 165. You can't do that stuff as easy, but it does take a tick longer to get that sled around. But when you do, you have so much more capability and you can get more places with it. There's a time and a place. You almost need a quiver of snowboards or surfboards depending on what wave it is, what time of the year here. Do you want to ride that 146? Well, yeah. I mean, springtime, some early season stuff to play around a little bit. Yeah, 146 is awesome.
Yeah. Well, and we're also seeing, and I'll use all those Wyoming kids. They're all riding 155s, and they're in gnarly terrain.
Well, and another thing is snow. Yeah.
Right. And you bring a 155 down here, and like they can get there. I mean, you can cue back to name. Let's see. I'll name all of them. Kosterky, Kyle riding his 155, Andy Thomas, Keith Curtis, all of them bring their 155s here, and I'm just kind of laughing, right? And we talk about it all the time. I'm like, well, I'm just going to go 165 you to death today. And you guys are good enough riders, you will get there, but I'm going this way. And these guys doing all this crap, try to get up to the hill. It's awesome. Well, I'll never forget Ross. We were in Narnia. Ross on the climb ride. This was back in had to be 18, something like that. I've never seen Ross so sweaty and tired in his life. I had to do 1,900 hopovers. He was on his Wild Child 155 big boost thing, but he finally got there. And so, it's whatever you want to do, what you're looking at doing, and so that's kind of how it is.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to number 4.
Where do you think it will go from here?
Morning, Andrew.
Hi.
Morning. You're on the next podcast, pal. Okay. Where will it go from here?
That's a tough question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, did you think you would be here 10 years ago? I mean, you might have.
Do you think about that kind of thing?
I do, and I think that's what makes answering this question. It makes it easy and hard. Okay, so 10 years ago, I was looking at terrain like I will get up there one of these days, and it's no different than today. Like I will get up there one of these days. What is hard to fathom about saying that now is like it is effing steep. Like I think that's been the biggest differentiator in what I enjoy to ride is literally the steepness and the consequences when you're in the steepness. I mean, like we have some stuff here that it's just like, dude, if I get stuck here, I am so effed. I'm going to wreck my sled. I'm like, so, it seems like I feel like I'm kind of there, like I am uncomfortable right here. And did I make it? Yes. Yeah. But, I slid out on a rock, got high-sided up against a tree, luckily brought it down, and there's cliffs right there. It's like, I don't know how much gnarlier this can get. I think, for me, I guess as I get older, my vision of how I think of my riding in the future, I just try to keep making it smoother, more efficient, and easier. The sleds are helping that for sure. I'm really enjoying boost. I love what the sled can get me into. I'm really liking that. So where it's going to go, I think we're watching some of it. You go watch these crazy dudes up in Canada, and you watch, just look. You just watch Instagram, right? You look at the freaking Swedes.
Bergmark.
Goodness, right? Like
next level.
Next level. Like, but that's that's one niche of the industry, it's a small niche because not many people are going to be like, maybe I'll just go do a front flip. And there's more and more people who can go do it, which is crazy to me.
That's what I'm noticing is that the number of people that can do some of these insane things is mind-blowing for me.
Yeah.
I just want, how did this happen?
Yeah.
That's why
it used to be Quinlan, right?
Yeah.
It was Jay. Jay's the only one doing this crazy shit. I'm like, dude, I'm watching him like 75 feet in the air on a edge snowmobile. I'm like, this guy's an idiot, right? And now
you're right behind him.
And now there's lots of idiots in a good way.
In a good way.
Well, and that's the progression of that's what X Games kind of did. In the early 2000s, it started that kind of style and that culture of being able to do those tricks and seeing that and seeing what's possible. And then the next generation gets to see that at an earlier age. And they're like, there's 12-year-olds doing it now. It's just crazy. Like you see that progression in all action sports and skateboarding and snowboarding and all that stuff.
Yeah, you're right. And it seems like the progression has just quickened ridiculously in the last, 2 years maybe?
Well, and
like
I think
there was maybe a little bit of a stale zone.
Yeah,
so to speak,
it did,
and then
it does that every like movement. Okay, it went like it needed back in the 90s. It was stale for a long time because the sleds were this. This is what you did with the sled, and then the M came out, and we're like, oh wow, this changes everything. Yeah. You know, and
what's
then
his riding style?
Sure. So how I bring this all back, and I guess this is what I hope to see for like where does it go? What's next? I will be 100% honest. I am terrified of what we're going to be able to ride from a legality standpoint with wilderness and release of wolves and wolverine and lynx compaction. I mean, there is all of this stuff of people wanting to shut our stuff down.
True.
So I would not be a responsible snowmobiler if I didn't mention that. This will be your friendly reminder to, if you haven't renewed your Snowmobile Club membership in a while, please do it. All that money that it goes somewhere to help us keep riding. So we can talk about where the future is going as much as we want from a technical standpoint, but if we don't have the ability from a legality standpoint, we're going to be in trouble. So with that being said, you know, I hope people just keep embracing, you know, why we love mountain riding so much, and that's because you can make it as hard and or as easy as you want, and it's the most physical and mental demanding sport that you can ever think of.
It is. The mental side is just insane.
Yeah, I mean, we've literally seen grown men throw their helmets in disgust, and it's like, what are you doing? Like, stop that. We're supposed to be having fun. Okay, so just like move your foot, quit riding on the tightrope, and quit like trying to haul ass across this hill, and you're gonna be fine, right?
That's right.
It can get frustrating.
It can, yeah.
I've never been to that point, but you know, maybe at home I shed a tear when I get home.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
We've all had our moments.
Yeah.
Well, Ryan, I really appreciate the topic. You know, every time we sit down for a podcast, I'm like, man, it's hard to pick one, right? And I think this one is a good one. And you know, we talked about you guys, the viewers. Where do you land in these buckets that we talked about? And, you know, as a person who has been doing this for many, many years, I challenge you to push yourself, keep having fun, keep working on the technique, get more people involved in the sport, and share that passion. And we'll hopefully have a healthy industry for many, many years to come.
Yeah. And this being our first day guided, like, be sure to follow us on social media here and follow all the shenanigans going on. You know, you got Blake Media behind the camera and Ryan MC. Obviously, if you don't follow Chris already, like, what are you doing? Did you just stumble upon this podcast? Like, and then, you know, Blaine Clowder, follow us on Instagram, social media, and keep up with us because we're going to be putting out a lot of cool stuff.
Heck yeah. Well, we're gonna cut this one a little short because we got work to do, and Shane is
rebuilding a sled,
really screwing up all of our podcast stuff here. But anyway, thanks guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and make sure you comment below what you thought of the podcast, and if you have a topic of your own that you would like us to discuss next time. So with that being said, let's go ride, boys.
Let's go kick off the season.
Let it snow.
Awesome. Let's do it.